Thank you very much, James. And yeah, it's absolutely great to be here. I'll be very brief, but certainly welcome all. We're pleased to be sponsoring lunch. Just thought I'd offer some brief reflections on the morning we've had. James started off with a terrific overview of where the livestock exports fit into the totality of the Australian meat industry, and so close to $2 billion of Australian exports is obviously very significant and is a very important part of a lot of farm incomes across the country, and also represents great opportunity for Australia. Sam Brown then gave us a great overview of the excellent work LIVECorp's doing, including work consistent with the theme of this conference, which is welfare beyond borders. We then had my colleagues from the Austrex team on all the day-to-day complexities involved in the apparently simple task of delivering happy, healthy cattle to 26 countries worldwide, and followed by Tim Ryan, Matt Dalgleish, who gave us some quite sobering statistics on the status of the Australian cattle herd and the work we have to do for Australia to compete globally successfully for the long term. And if you think about it, the Australian livestock and beef industry and lamb industries are incredibly important. Australia is very dependent on iron ore and coal for its export income, but they're finite resources. They'll run out one day. Australian agriculture is sustainable generation after generation. We get it right. So I think the opportunities and meeting the challenges successfully today to have a sustainable agribusiness industry are really important for all of us, for our children. Now to Greg Pankhurst, who handled the fire alarm. It was masterfully, I thought. And Greg said something I thought was great in the course of his comments on the Market Insight team's great panel session. Greg said, if you're worried about people piggybacking on your work, you wouldn't do any work. And I think that's a wonderful sort of impromptu statement for this conference. There's great opportunities for us all to learn from one another and work together as an industry. I'm fortunate to have had a lifetime and exposure from various means to Australian agriculture. My first job was on a cattle station in the Pilbara of Western Australia, then was fortunate to have 25 years with Wesfarmers, that was for many years the owner of the business known as Landmark, and joined the Austrex team in January this year. And it's the opportunities, I think, for Australian livestock exports going forward, if we get things right, are fantastic for all of us. And actually I should acknowledge Matt Graham too on the R&D, his R&D presentation, which is a very key part of our future as well. And I'll just, I won't go on, but I had a great conversation too with John Cunnington of Howlin last night on the work of the Cattle Collective, which I thought of because I noticed the activists outside this morning. When I was joining Austrex, I was actually approached by an activist who asked me sort of, what do you think you're doing? And I actually sat down with her and invited her into our boardroom and took her through some of our public information materials on what we do throughout the whole cattle supply chain. And it was a really interesting and insightful conversation, because at the end of the conversation she said, wow, the activist group I work for, which I won't name here, said, didn't tell me any of that. Oh, that's perfectly okay. That's fantastic what you do. So I think if we could have around Australia 1 million conversations like that, our industry would be very well placed.